I really came over here to be with you to begin this important seminar. As you know, this is a matter of discussion in the academic realm and also in the administrative levels of the states and of the central government. We shall have a small reflection on the importance and also the occasions that this NEP provides for us. First of all, I request you to look at this new education policy as something positive as regards the development of the nation. Of course, every positive development will have its own side effects which may affect the society. And for a new education policy also, there are many drawbacks or many aspects that may affect especially the mission of the church in our country. I will start with the process of education. The process of education actually started in every country as a private enterprise. It was teachers gathering students and giving education. In our system of India, we called it Gurukulam. And almost the same was there in the other developed countries also. In India, it was the same case with the all religious or social realities in Hinduism, in Christianity, in Islam, in Buddhism. Everywhere we know this kind of private beginning of education. But later, the governments became aware that education is their obligation. Educating a nation is the obligation of the governments of that nation. This came also as in other countries in India. But in India, that awareness was created mainly by the colonizing countries, especially the British. So the colonization period gave a great fillip to organized education by states and other agencies helped by the government. It is like that in India we had the private schools, private colleges, and then schools and colleges run by the states or the center. Then in a democratic setup in India, we know that there were so many great societies that came up for education. And there were even syllabuses different. We know in school there are CBSE, NVSE and so on. So many different syllabuses, and then compared to the state syllabus and then central syllabus, all these kind of diversification of educational dynamics came in India. And there it is actually as a natural development of this that education became a real enterprise of the whole community or the whole human community in India. I tell you that from the beginning, the Christian churches, especially the Catholic Church, was in the forefront to give education to the people. Of course, we had in mind the goal of giving the Christian values to the people who are formed by education. And that kind of commitment of the church gave a real inspiration for the other communities also to come up. I mean religious communities or maybe communities with social commitment who came up with what we call the schools and colleges. And thereby it became a system which is very complex in India. So naturally governments now begin to think that there should be a nationalization in one sense of education. Nationalization, I will not say kind of administration level or policy level, but it is more than a kind of making education a national, giving education a national face. When this NEP is introduced in India, education will be having a new structural phase together with an academic phase and also a kind of an internationalization of education. It is not only in schools or colleges, it is a comprehensive vision that NEP gives. Now we have studied NEP on CBCI level, and they are studying also on CCBI level, that means the Conference of the Bishops of the Latin Church. And we have studied it as it was mentioned by Bishop Kalarengat in the Synod. There were experts like Professor Edward, and also not Edward was called, but people like him were called there, and the Secretary of the Education Commission of CBCI was there to give us the keynote address. We discussed it, and it was then that we felt that we should have what we call seminars and symposiums on this issue of NEP, National Education Policy, because it is going to affect the whole fabric of the society, and it will affect more because we are the more who are involved in education. We know that in the Catholic Church or the Christian churches gave the lead for educational ministry in India. Now they call it education industry, because everything is becoming really what we call secularized. Everything is becoming what we call an economic enterprise. They say even health industry. That means giving health care to people is considered an industry. So also education is an industry. If you go to Bangalore, you can have blocks and big areas named education industry. That means there are so many schools, colleges, etc., and they call it that area education industry. So such a kind of change is happening in our country. When we gave a lead to the education, in our structure of the church also, education became a big thrust, a big concern. And that is why now we are in Pali. Pali is almost an educational hub. How many schools, colleges, and also engineering institutes and so on are here in this small town. But it is more than a reality of a big city. How many vice chancellors have come from this town of Pali, or this area of Pali, or this taluk of Meenachi? I think more than 4 vice chancellors. How many governors have come from here? How many ministers have come from here? MPs and MLAs. That means this educational hub could produce all these great men from this small area. And we know that we have other educational hubs like that in the Catholic Church of Kerala, in Changanasheri, in Trichur, Ernakulam, and so on. And also the other dioceses which started afterwards also had a big concern for education. And our religious congregations, how many professed or consecrated persons of men and women are here engaged in education? How many sisters? Even in this seminar, there is a good percent of sisters. They are all professors in colleges or schools and so on. So what I mean is that our input or the input of the Catholic Church in education is far and wide.